So today we're going to review over surface area and volume, and I'm going to tell you about your quiz that's going to be coming up early next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. And you should have your packet open to page 13, and you should also have this sheet open because we're going to go back and forth with this in order to figure out what we're supposed to do. So what this sheet does is it talks about volume. So this sheet is all about volume, okay? And we're going to make another sheet that is, we're going to make some notes also on another place that is all about surface area. So we're going to talk about the formulas for volume and for surface area depending on what we're talking about. But this sheet is all about volume. So let's look at our first problem. I am on page 13. I'm looking at number 1. We're going to look at volume first. And in order to find volume, okay, you have to identify what this shape is. I'm just going to fill in a few other things here. This is what you wouldn't see, but this is your shape. Okay, so let's go to our volume, and that's our shape that we're looking at. And we have to identify, is it a prism, is it a pyramid, is it a cylinder? Well, it has two bases, therefore we know it's a prism. So we're going to use area of the base times height. So we're going to use volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. But then when we have a prism, so now we go down here, what is the base? Okay, so look at this. What is our base? Well, our base is a rectangle, right? So if it's a rectangle, we're going to use base times height, or we can also use length times width. So that's what we're going to plug in for capital B. So we go back here. So in place of capital B, we're going to use length times width, because that's how I find the area of a rectangle. Okay, so you see how we do that? Now we're going to plug our numbers in. What's our length and our width? 3 and 5, and then we're going to multiply by 8. So we take 3 times, well, you can multiply it however you want to, take out your calculator, but I know that it's going to be 120. Now what is the label on that? It's volume. Volume is going to always be cubed. So this is going to be inches cubed. Good. Let's look at surface area. So right now, on the back of this sheet, I'm going to show you what I want you to write in the problem, because we're going to also use it here, but write this information on the back of that, because there's a good chance you might get to use this sheet front and back when you take the quiz, so you want to have good notes on it. So on this particular problem, what we're doing is we're finding the surface area. So think of our Kleenex box. So if we were coloring it, okay, we would find the area of this rectangle, and there's 2 of those, okay? And then, so let's go, so we have area, surface area is equal to 2 because we have the front and the back, and then we have the 2 sides, and then we have the top and the bottom, so we have 2 of everything. So if I look at this front, that would be a width, and this would be a height. So now if I do this side right here, that would be a length and a height. Okay, and then you can see what is left is going to be this top part. Okay, and just like we did in class, that means that I'm going to have a width and a length. So I can use this formula right here, and hopefully you wrote it on the back of this piece of paper, okay? And we're also going to use it here. So I'm going to pause. I'd like you to pause too and write this right here on the back of this page. On the back of this page, we're going to write the surface area. Go. So pause your screen if you haven't already and write this on the back. Now you're just going to plug all these numbers in. So you're just going to do that, and I'll let you do that on your own. Plug in for W and H and L and H, and you might want to come over here and say, hey, this is W, and this is L, and this is H, so then you know what you're plugging in. Good. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So the next one we're going to go to is number 7, and number 7 I believe is on page 14, so look for number 7. Now look at that shape, look at what it is, go out to this sheet, and what do we know it is? Well, it's a prism, that's right, because it has 2 bases. But what is the base? What is the shape of the base? Let's look at it again. What is the shape of the base? So the shape of the base right here, what is that shape? That's right, it's a triangular prism. So we go out here. We know it's a triangular prism. So we know that we're going to be using this in place of capital B. Okay, so here we go. We're going to use volume. Whoops, hold on a second. We're going to use volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. But here our base is a triangle. And then we have another H. I'm going to indicate that in a different color because that H is the height of the prism. Okay, so then you're just going to plug it in. Now look at the triangle down here. Okay, the triangle, here is my height, here is my base. What is the length of my base? Well, that's the same as this one. That's a 12. So I have 1/2 times 12, and then my height is right here. That's a 5.5. Okay, so I'm going to multiply, that's a point, and that's a times. So that's a decimal point. And then I'm going to multiply it times the height, which is 11. So that's kind of hard to read. Let me do that again. That was 12 times 5.5 times 11. And that's the reason parentheses are kind of good. So I'll let you finish the chat out. Now remember, volume is cubed, so make sure you do that. Now when we look at surface area on this one, what I want you to do on the back of this sheet right here, I want you to go to the back of this sheet, and I want you to write this information. When we do this, you can write it on this sheet too. When we did it, we did one triangle, but we noticed there's actually 2 bases. And the way that they're going to give it to you on the quiz is like that. And then they go, there's 3 rectangles, because this is a prism. So we're going to find all those. So right now, if you haven't already, write this on the back of this sheet, please. I'm going to pause, make sure you do. I believe you've written this on that other sheet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to find this information because this is surface area. So we have to find the area of this base. Okay, so the area of this base, okay, is going to be 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to have 1/2 times the base, which we already know is 12, times the height, which is 5.5. Okay, so I take 1/2 times 12 times 5.5. And I get 33. Now, how many bases do I have? Well, I have 2 of them. So that's 33. And what we're going to eventually do is we're going to add all of these amounts across there. Okay. Now, this is where it gets, we're going to trace each of these rectangles. So here is a rectangle right here, right? There's one of our rectangles. And that rectangle is 11 by 11. Okay, now I'm going to erase that. Now I have another rectangle right here. This one's kind of the tricky one to see. See how this is another rectangle right there? That is 6 by 11. See that? How that's the 11 right over here. That's 11 by 6. Then we have one more. And this one is back here. This is my other rectangle. So that's a 12 by 11. That gives me 132. And you're going to add all of this together, and then it's surface area, so it's going to be miles, that's what mi starts, squared. So add all that together. Okay, good. Let's go to the next one. So the next one you're going to go to is on page 18, I believe, 18 or 19. Let me look. So the next one we're going to do is number 8 on page 18. Okay, look for this one right here. Okay, so let's go out to our page. We're going to find the volume, because remember this column is volume. Okay, so we're going to go out and find the volume. Well, this one's pretty easy. It's a cylinder. Well, it's a no-brainer there. So we're going to use area of the base times height. Okay, and what's our base? Well, our base is a circle. So that means I'm going to use pi r squared for the area of the base. So this is going to become pi r squared times the height. Now with this one, notice we have an r squared, but do I know the radius? No, so I have to find it. The diameter is 9. How do I find the radius? I take exactly 9 divided by 2, so I get 4.5. That's my radius. Okay, that's my radius. I'm going to use that a couple times. So I'm going to take pi, 3.14, times the radius, 4.5. I'm going to square that, and then I'm going to take it times the height of the cylinder. Okay? Now remember that's volume, so make sure that you put millimeters squared. Use your calculator to plug that in and get that answer. Now the next thing we're going to do is surface area. Okay? So remember, go to the back of this sheet, go to the back of this sheet, go to the back of this sheet, and I want you to write the formula for surface area. You have two bases, so 2 pi r squared, those are your two circles, and then you have the circumference, pi r h, times the height. So 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Make sure that is written on the back of this sheet. Back of that sheet, write 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Then you just plug all your information in and use your calculator and multiply. Now, since you're using your calculator, do it twice. Make sure you get that number twice. Okay, come back, make sure you finish that one. This is part of your homework. Good, let's go to the last one. Okay, so now we're on page 19. And we're going to look at number 10 and number 12. Okay, now look at number 10. What is that shape? We're going to go out here, and it's a pyramid. So now we have a pyramid. Okay, so we're going to use 1/3 area of the base times the height. So for the volume, we're going to find 1/3 area of the base times the height. Well, what is my base? My base here, see that? My base is a triangle. So I'm going to have 1/3 times the area of the base, which is a triangle, times the height, times the height. That is the height of the pyramid. So I have 1/3 times 1/2. My base and my height, it doesn't matter because they're perpendicular to each other. So times 8 times 10 times my height, which is 20. Multiply that out, that will give you your volume. We don't have to find the surface area. Yay! So we don't have to worry about that one. We just have to find the volume. Now look at this pyramid. Look at the base. What is the shape of my base? It's a rectangle. So when you go out here, you will have a pyramid, but now you have a base of a rectangle. And again, that area can be length times width. Okay, so hopefully this helped. Go out and do all those problems, work on those, and next time I see you, I'll make sure that we get it figured out what we're doing next. Great. Thank you so much. And if you have questions, hold on to those, and I will try to answer those as soon as I can. SOAR is always a good time. I could come and help you you could come in and ask me then. Thanks.